Hello and welcome back to Solo Board Gaming Presents, and we're doing it again. I thought I'd like to revisit Commands and Colours Napoleonics and do a quick rundown of basic rules and a playthrough of one of the lesser fought battles. This is the thing, and we're going to do it solo. We're going to play Commands and Colours Napoleonics from GMT Games, and of course designed by Richard Borg. Yes, it's been out for many years, and I've already done 2 videos on it, but that was about I think it's 8 or 9 months ago, something like that. I've moved on a little bit since then, so I just thought I wanted to revisit it because, hey, it's such a fun game. And the amazing thing is you can break out what is basically a tabletop miniatures war game. And once you've set it up, you can teach a brand new opponent who doesn't play war games. And yet you can teach this brand new opponent in, I'm going to say, 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to stick my neck out and I'm going to say you can teach a brand new opponent in 10 minutes and guaranteed you'll have a whale of a time. It feels right. It's like playing a game of chess with a lot more pieces. You'll refight a historic battle and have great fun. Now, we can also do it solo by using Richard Borg's own Power of 3. And you can download the Power of 3 solo variant from the GMT website, where they have the downloads and the living rules for the game and things like that. The Power of 3. That's what I use. There are other ways to play the game solo, a little bit complicated. The Power of 3 with 3 cards each, I tell you, it's so easy and it flows so well. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to set up for, we look in our scenario book. There we go. And I've not heard of this battle before, so that's why we're going to play Combat at Air. I probably haven't even pronounced it right. I know nothing about this little battle, but more about that later. First of all, just so that those of you that have yet to take the plunge with Commands and Colours Napoleonics, if you've not played the game before, let's basically teach the game in just 10 minutes. Okay, you're going to have in your army, you're going to have infantry, cavalry and artillery and field officers. With the infantry, you're going to have line infantry, you're going to have light infantry, and you're going to have maybe at times militia. Okay? With cavalry, you're going to have light cavalry and heavy cavalry. And in cavalry and in infantry, you're going to have guard units and so on. But how do they move? They all move more or less the same. There's not a lot to learn here. For instance, let's take a unit of line infantry. A unit of line infantry. I hope you can see those fairly clearly. There's lovely illustrations, which you have to sticker up yourself. But, okay, mainly your line infantry are going to consist of 4 blocks, 4 little units. That's 1 unit, 1 battalion or something like that. And very simple, no matter what line infantry you have, regular infantry, you can move 1 hex. That's it. You can't move any further. That's what you can move each turn, 1 hex. And you can move 1 hex and still battle. And by battle, we mean you can still melee if you're in contact with an enemy unit, or you can ranged fire with your muskets. We'll come on to that in a while. Or you can stay still and not move at all, in which case your musket fire will be more accurate. Make sense? Absolutely. So, line infantry moves 1. Let's look at light infantry. And I've got some French light infantry here. Look at me. That's my shaky hands. Okay, I've got some French light infantry here. And they can move 1 hex or 2. Okay, because they're light infantry. Now, like the other guys, they can move 1 hex and still battle, melee or ranged fire, or they can move 2 hexes and not battle at all. So there's different strategies you can employ there, is there not? Okay, so let's bring them back before they run away off the board. Now then, cavalry. Light cavalry. These British light cavalry consist of 3 blocks. There they are, look. Let's bring these guys over here. Light cavalry can move up to 3. So let's say they're here. They can move 1, 2, 3, and they can still battle. Okay, they don't have to move 3, but they can. 1, 2, 3. Fine. Heavy cavalry can move 2 hexes. Okay? The light moved 3, the heavy can move 2. And here I've got some great examples. I've got some French heavy cuirassiers, and I've lumped with them, I think. That's heavy cuirassier as well. Just an example. Ah, there we go. I've lumped in a simple heavy cavalry unit, and that's actually a carabinier outfit there. But they would all be the same regiment, heavy cuirassier. Okay, so we've got line infantry, 1 square. We had light infantry, 2 squares, but they can't battle. Light cavalry, up to 3. Heavy cavalry, up to 2. How about artillery? There are 2 types of artillery. There is foot artillery and horse artillery. Let's look at the foot artillery. 3 artillery units. There they are, the foot units. Kaboom! Its range is up to 5 hexes. Look at this. It's on this hill. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fair range. But the number of dice it rolls is less for each hex of range. At far range here, it'll only use 1 dice. Back here, in grape shot range, it'll use up to 4 dice. If it moves, it can only move 1, and it cannot fire. Now, compare that to horse artillery. Here we are, some horse artillery here. Lovely unit of French horse artillery, that is. Slightly less range, up to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, the further you fire and the less dice you're going to use. It can move 1, but it can still fire. At reduced rate, but it can still fire. They quickly unlimber, turn around the gun, load and bang off a shot. If they move 1, or they can move 2 and not battle. 2 hexes and not fire. And then finally, of course, let's line them up for inspection. Some of the field officers. There's a British. There's a Portuguese. There's a French. They can move 1, 2 or 3. If you attach them to a unit, they will move as the unit moves. They can lend support and bolster morale to the units they're attached to. Very important, these leaders, how you use them on the battlefield. Now, we mentioned how the artillery fires. How about the infantry? Let's take, for instance, our British line infantry here. Okay, this is how it works. All infantry, and it couldn't be easier, could it? Fire 2 hexes. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Same with your light infantry. 1, 2. So it's really, really simple. There's 1 British unit, and they call them rifle light infantry. It's your 95th rifles, your 60th rifles, the ones with the green jackets. They can fire up to 3 hexes away. It's a tiny unit though, but it can do it. There are other asymmetrical modifications. Each player will get a brilliant 4-page player aid, which has all your units listed with any range or battle or melee or movement modifiers, depending on their capabilities and training. So sometimes it'll be +1 die, for instance. Now, the British, with their musket fire, tend to get an extra die in ranged combat. The French, with their big line infantry units, their grenadiers, they are more deadly in melee. They will tend to get an extra die roll in melee. So that's more or less, in a nutshell anyway, how the asymmetry works. Now let's move these out the way and have a very quick look at the dice, because everyone loves the dice in this game. And again, couldn't be simpler. There are sides of the dice that show yellow. They will give you hits against cavalry units. The blue sides show an infantryman. They will give you hits against infantry units. Red sides will give you hits against artillery units. The side with the swords will give you additional hits in melee. And finally with the dice, if it shows a flag, that is retreat. Or 2 flags would give you 2 hexes of retreat. But a commander can bolster your forces and he can ignore 1 retreat die, but you'd still have to retreat the other one. So very briefly, this is what we're going to be doing during our battle. And the only difference with the main 2-player game is, as I said, we're going to use the power of 3. And that is, I'll just go through it once more. I went through it in my last Napoleonic video. Each player will be dealt 3 cards instead of the 5 or 6 cards. 3 cards are really easy to manage. So, we look at our 3 cards. If it's the British turn, for instance, attack left flank, probe left flank, attack left flank. Everything's happened on the left with this particular draw of cards. I'll explain the cards in greater detail when we do the playthrough. But let's say I use attack left flank. So I use the card and it's then discarded. I then have 2 more cards left in my hand. I can only keep 1 of them. I'm going to keep that and discard the other. I can now draw 2 cards off the pile to replace them, but not look at them. I don't know what they are and won't know until next turn. Same with my opponent. I'm now going to play my opponent. He gets 3 cards, the power of 3. What do we have? Force march, assault right flank, assault left flank. I'm going to keep assault left flank and play it. Once it's played, I take a look at my opponent's cards again and I keep 1 of them. I make a plan now for my opponent. I'm going to keep forced march and discard the other one and the one I used. Same, I now draw 2 cards. I don't know what they are. And those are now ready for the next turn. And I don't know what cards are where. So the best laid plans of mice and men, you might have kept one of the cards because, you think I could really do with that. But you turn your cards over for your next turn and things have changed. And the same here. You don't know what your opponent is going to do until you turn over the cards. So there's all that fog of war is still there with the power of 3. The easiest way to play solo. Anyhow, I've got a video to do. I'm going to set this game up to play the Battle of Air, or Combat at Air in the Peninsular War. So please join me. I hope this was okay. It was a quickie, but thanks for watching, and please tune in for the battle next time. See you again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.